Welcome students. Today we are going to start with theme 2, writing and city life. Students, in theme 1, from the beginning of time, you all had learnt about human evolution. And there you all had seen how they started hunting and gathering, and slowly and gradually how they started agricultural work. And once they had started agricultural work, they are in need to store the grains, and that time we have to focus on the writing. It means we have to maintain the records as well, as the chapter name is suggesting, writing and city life. It means we are going to learn something about the development of writing and development of the city life. Students, as you all learned in class 6th about Harappan and Mohenjo-daro civilization, we can say Indus Valley civilization as well. Similar to that, we are having few more ancient civilizations such as Mesopotamia civilization, Egypt civilization, and we can say China civilization. There is one most common feature among all the civilizations, that is they all flourished near valleys, near river valleys. So we can say as Mesopotamia civilization flourished between two rivers, that is Tigris and Euphrates. If we talk about Egypt civilization, then Egypt civilization has been flourished near Nile Valley, and Harappa civilization, you all are knowing Indus Valley civilization, and the China civilization flourished in Huanghe Valley. So in this chapter we are going to learn about Mesopotamia civilization. Originally, Mesopotamia is derived from two Greek words. First one, Mesos, which means middle. Second one is Potamus, which means river. It means we can say a land between two rivers, that is Euphrates and Tigris. And we can say these are the first cities developed around 3500 BCE. Let me tell you one more thing about this civilization. As this civilization is very famous for its prosperity, its city life, and we can say its voluminous and rich literature, mathematics, and for its astronomy. As Mesopotamia's writing system and literature spread to the eastern Mediterranean and northern Syria and Turkey after 2000 BCE. If we talk about history of Mesopotamia, so students, over the centuries, many different people lived in this area, creating a collection of independent states such as Sumer, Akkad, Babylonia, Assyria. So in this chapter further I will tell you. Let's see the map of heartlands of the Mesopotamia. See, here you all can see, here this is Akkad, Babylonia, Sumer, and Assyria. Beginning of recorded history, the land, mainly the urbanized south, it was called Sumer and Akkad after 2000 BCE, and when Babylon became an important city, then it's known as Babylonia. And then in southern, the Assyria region is known as Assyrian civilization. You all can see emergence of different languages: Sumerian language, Akkadian language, Aramic language, and Hebrew language. So firstly, as the first known language of the land was Sumerian language, and that was emerged near 3200 BCE, and then Akkadian language replaced Sumerian language, and it was emerged in 2400 BCE. Then Aramic language came in 40, then Hebrew language came around 1000 BCE, as Hebrew is still spoken in Iraq as well. Now question arises, from where do we get to know about these evidences? So students, this all started in 1840s, as scholars want to know about the world history, and excavation continue for decades, as scholars found hundreds of Mesopotamian buildings, statues, ornaments, graves, tools, seals as sources, and thousands of written documents. As students, here I told you earlier also, as Sumerian is the first writing language, है ना, as it was emerged in 3200 BCE. तो first evidences हमें जो मिले हैं writing के वो यहीं पे मिले हैं. As Mesopotamia was important to Europeans as well, because the book of Genesis of the Old Testament refers to Shimmer, which means Sumer, as a land of brick-built cities. That is why Europeans started looking towards Mesopotamia as an ancestral land. As in 1873, a British newspaper funded an expedition of the British Museum to search for a tablet narrating of the story of flood mentioned in the Bible. As Bible debate about flood is the flood was meant to destroy all the life on the earth. However, God chose a man named Noah to ensure the life could continue after flood. Noah built a huge boat and ark. He took a pair each of all known species of animal husbandry and birds on board the ark, which survived the flood. There was a striking similar story in the Mesopotamian tradition, where the principal character was called Jisutra and Utnapishtim. Now students, let's see legacies of Mesopotamia. So here we found first empires, codified laws, ziggurat places of worship, cuneiform writing system, irrigation work was also there, metal working such as tools etc. Use of bronze and iron was also there, trading network as well, transportation with the help of wheel and sail, and we have mathematics and calendar system as well, large scale agriculture and astronomy. So in now further we are going to study these things one by one. As firstly, let me tell you about the geographic conditions of Mesopotamia. Basically here we found little amount of rainfall and the climate is very hot and dry, and windstorm leaving muddy river valleys in winter, catastrophic flooding of the river in spring as well. The soil was arid and containing little materials, and no stone or timber resources found in Mesopotamia. Students, here you all can see a fertile crescent C-shaped, and this area of land with soil that was good for farming, and as this area is good for farming, that is why sheep and goats are grazed on the steppe. And if we talk about northeast, what is in northeast of Mesopotamia, there are green undulating plains gradually rising to tree-covered mountain ranges with clear streams and wildflowers with enough rainfall to grow crops. In north, we have stretch of upland called steppe, where animal herding offer people a better livelihood than agriculture, and after the winter rains, sheep and goats feed on the grasses and low shrubs that grow here. In east, tributaries of the Tigris provide routes of communication into the mountains of Iran. East is good for trading as well. As south, south is a desert. Even though first cities and writing emerged in southern part of Mesopotamia only, and this desert could support cities because of Euphrates and Tigris, the main two rivers where our civilization was flourished, Mesopotamia, because the northern mountains carry loads of silt, fine mud, है ना. नॉर्थ से साउथ की तरफ क्या आ रहा है, हमारा जितना भी फर्टाइल सॉइल है वो हमारा कहाँ पे आके रुक रहा है, हमारा साउथ में आ रहा है. दैट इज़ वाई द लैंड is very much fertile in the southern part of Mesopotamia. As in southern part of Mesopotamia, we are having fertile soil, and with the help of Euphrates and Tigris river, whenever people are in need for irrigation work for growing their crops such as wheat, barley, peas, lentils, etc. That time they were using these rivers as well, है ना. And I told you about the northern part of Mesopotamia also, as we are having the steppe grassland there. That is why people are doing cattle rearing also, cattle rearing such as sheep and goats, as they can feed on the grasses whatever grown there है ना. Now as just now I told you about Euphrates and Tigris river, तो Euphrates and Tigris river थी तो बेटा people are doing the activities such as fishing as well. As southern part is also known as the desert है ना, as डेजर्ट है तो डेजर्ट में जो फ्रूट्स फेमस होते हैं वो वहाँ पे भी फेमस थे, सच एज योर डेट एंड पाम. The significance of urbanization, it is also referred as Bronze Age as well, 3000 BCE. As bronze is an alloy of copper and tin, it means bronze जो है वो किससे, copper and tin से मिलकर के bronze metal बना है. As I told you, Mesopotamia was rich in food resources but not in mineral resources. So might be they had brought these metals from far distances, as metal was very necessary for tool making, and we can say for carpentry, for drilling beads, for carving stone seals है ना, and we can say cutting shelves for inlaid furnitures etc. For these purposes they were using these kind of things है ना. As Mesopotamian weapons are also of bronze. For example, the tip of the spear was made by bronze only. This is very important to know that the first long distance trade occurred between Mesopotamia and Indus Valley civilization, and they had import and export of spices, precious stones etc. Cities and towns are not just a place with a large population, as they involve themselves in few economic activities also. And urban economies comprises besides food production, manufacturers and services, and for these services they have to depend on each other. For example, carver of stone seal requires a bronze tool and the colored stones, and this bronze tool maker required charcoal for fuel. It means there is a dependency है ना. That is why they think about the division of labor, as the division of labor is mark of urban life of Mesopotamia. You all can understand division of labor by this diagram. As you all can see, fora is on the top and a fora means ki supreme power, it means the great house है ना. And then government officials, in which vizier, priest, nobles came, and then soldiers you all are knowing, whomsoever is going to serve in army. Then we have scribes, as I told you earlier ki the first writing evidences found in Mesopotamia only near about 3200 BCE. So these persons are categorized in scribes, and then we are having merchants, whomsoever are doing the work of trading such as import and export things है ना, they are importing and exporting. That is why they comes in category of merchants है ना, as they were importing and exporting the things from villages to towns है ना. And then craftsmen, whatever the crafts work was going on, they are doing that work. And then peasants are doing agricultural work and as they are doing herding as well. And then we are having slaves. So basically we are having three kinds of slaves. First one was war prisoner. Second, we can say children sold by their parent only. And thirdly, we can say those person whomsoever are not able to pay their debt. They all comes in this category, slaves category. So this is how they had divided the things, and this is known as division of labor. Thus, organized trade and storage is needed. There are deliveries of grain and other food items from the village to the city, and food supplies need to be stored and distributed. It means they are doing proper management. In such a system, some people are giving commands and some are obeying those commands. It means कि boss and employee वाला system भी develop हो गया था. As they are doing trade with different parts such as Babylonia, Iran, Asia and we can say Indus Valley civilization as well. So that is that time very important thing was that ki they have to maintain the records, and urban economies required the keeping of written records. Movements of goods into cities. Students, as I told you earlier, southern Mesopotamia was rich in food resources because river Euphrates and Tigris, which rise in the northern mountains, carry loads of silt. It means fine mud. Because of that, we are having rich food resources in southern Mesopotamia. But if we talk about mineral resources, so we have very few mineral resources over there, such as stones for tools, seals and jewels. And we can also say that wood of the Iraqi date palm and poplar was not good enough for carts, cartwheel and boats, and there was no metal for tools, vessels or ornament. So for that they have to do trade throughout the Mediterranean, Iran, Arab and Asia. And so we can surmise that the ancient Mesopotamians could have traded their abundant textiles and agricultural produce for wood, copper, tin, silver, gold, shell and various stones from Turkey and Iran, or we can say across the Gulf. We can say that we are having few evidences that they are doing the trade of textiles and agricultural produce for wood from Babylonia, and gold के लिए वो लोग कहाँ जाते थे, हमारा टर्की में, and for silver they were going in Akkad. Besides crafts, trade and services, efficient transport is also important for urban development, as now we are having two modes of transportation. First, on the back of animal, it means animal cart we are using, and second one was water transportation, and the cheapest mode of transportation is over water. River boats or barges loaded with sacks of grain are propelled by the current of the river and or wind. But when we are talking about animal transport goods, they need to be fed, and canals and natural channels of ancient Mesopotamia were in fact routes of good transport between small and large settlements. And in the account on the city of Mari. So students, this much was there in your part 1 video. To complete this chapter, you have to go through with your part 2 video. Thank you.